Welcome. In this tutorial, we are going to learn about tuple object. So tuple is a immutable sequence, which means it can contain multiple elements, but once the tuple object is constructed, its element cannot be replaced with other elements. Okay. It is an ordered data type, so each element of tuple object can be accessed using index. So tuple object can contain mutable data type also and immutable data types also. So if the element is a mutable data type, it can change its value, but that particular element cannot be replaced with other element after the tuple object is constructed. Tuple object can also contain duplicates value, and it is hashable if and only if tuple object is having only immutable data types. Okay, so now let's create our first tuple object, which is empty tuple object. So if you write empty brackets, it will construct a tuple object which is empty and return to the given variable. Okay, so if you execute it, as we can see here, it is returning an object of a tuple class. Same way, you can use tuple constructor, which will also return, if you don't provide any sequence or any value here, it will return an empty tuple object. Now let's create tuple object with elements. So same way as we provided elements in list, we can provide any type of element here. So here in example, we have provided integer type of elements, so it will construct a tuple object out of it. So it is only containing a immutable data type. This tuple object can be used as a key for a dictionary object, or it is a basically hashable data type. So if you assigning multiple object or multiple elements to a single variable, Python will wrap those elements inside a tuple object, and it will construct a tuple object out of it and return that memory address to the variable. So same way, if we execute it, as we can see here, it is creating, or it is wrapping a tuple object inside the tuple object. The elements which are assigned to a single variable are present. Now let's construct a tuple object from iterator or a generator function. So in constructor of tuple object here, we can write any generator function. So in this example, we have used the range function. So what this constructor will do, it will fetch all the elements from the generator object until the elements are exhausted, and it will return a tuple object consisting of those elements. So this range object will iterate from 1 up to 11. So 1 to 10 element of integer type is returned. So if we print it, as we can see, it is constructing a tuple object containing those value returned by a generator function which has passed to the constructor. Okay. Now let's create a tuple object which is containing elements of a different kinds. So this is a float variable or float type object. This is string object, integer, and boolean object. Okay, so we can have multiple types of data type inside a tuple object. Next topic is indexing. So indexing for tuple object is same as we saw for the list and string. So each element can be accessed using index. Okay, so as we saw earlier, in Python there are two kinds of index. One is positive index, a second one is a negative index or a reverse index. So positive index begins from 0, so first element have index 0 up to the length of a given list, so it will increase by 1. So negative index begins from the last element here, which is assigned a -1 value up to the length of a given sequence. So it will go from -1 to -6, and all accessing and method of accessing using index remains the same. So without going further in details, let's execute the indexed access. Okay. So if we compare it here, as we can see, at 0 position it is having lotus, at -1 it is having this, okay, and at -6 it is again the first element of a tuple object. Next topic is slicing. So slicing also same for the tuple object as we saw for the list and a string. So for tuple object, it will return another tuple object which is containing a part of a given tuple object. So if we have this flowers as a tuple object, and if we are extracting a slice of it, this is from beginning from index 2 up to 4. So this is index 2, 0, 1 and 2 up to the 4. So fourth is not included. So these two elements are selected. So this index will extract these two elements and create a tuple object out of it. So let's execute it and see. So as you can see, these two objects inside the tuple object is written. Same way, if we are using with the step from beginning from index 1, it will select alternative elements. So 1, 3 up to the length of the tuple object. So 1, 3 and 5 will be selected here. As we can see, from index 1 it is selecting alternate elements. Same way, if we provide a negative step, it will begin from the end of the given tuple object and it will progress towards the beginning of it. Okay, so from the fourth index 0, 1, 2, 3 and fourth up to 1 it will return. So these elements in the reverse order from beginning from this it should return. So as we can see, beginning from this up to this, so this is not included, and these elements are reversed. Same way, the same we have extracted, we are extracting using negative index. So we are beginning from -1 here up to the -4, it is not included and in reverse order. Okay, so this is slicing. Now we will unpack the given tuple object into the variable. Earlier we have assigned multiple values here to a variable which is creating a tuple object out of multiple elements. Now we are unpacking those values to multiple variables. So if we are assigning a tuple object to the same length of elements, the number of variable is same as the given number of element inside tuple object, it will assign the elements inside the tuple object to a variable. So first element is assigned to the first variable and so on. So if we print individual variable, it will contain those similar values. As we can see here, a tuple object is extracted into the or unpacked into the multiple variables. Now if we want to extract or unpack these selected values, we can also do it same way as we saw for the list object. Okay, so we will use star variable, okay, to select rest of the values. So if we are having tuple object which is containing marks in a sorted manner or sorted order and if you want to only unpack first 3 or the top 3 marks, so we can write top 1 2 3 variable, and for the last we will write star and the name of variable, any variable name. So this star variable will contain rest of the value, but here it will not return a tuple object. Instead it will return a list object out of remaining values. So let's extract it and see the output. So as we can see here, if we unpack the selected values, it is selecting those values into the respective variable, and rest is returned as a list here. So always keep then in mind that even the star variable is having no value or the single value is selected, it will always return a list object. So same way, if you want to extract value at the end of the given tuple object, we can write star variable in the beginning and last 2 values. Okay, so it will extract last 2 values, and all the remaining values will be returned as a list. Now we will unpack the value from beginning and end of the tuple object. Same way we will write the values in as a variable. So here the high will be the first value and low will be the last value, and rest will contain all the rest value as a list. So as we can see here, highest and lowest is extracted from the tuple object, and rest is having inside the list object. Next topic is iterating through tuple object. So it is same as we saw for the list object. So we can write for each loop which will iterate for each element. So here we have different types of elements inside list. So if we are printing in for each loop its element's value and the type of element. So if we iterate in for each loop for each element in a given tuple object, we can access each object inside the at each iteration using this element variable. Okay. So as we can see here, we are iterating through the tuple object, okay, which is having different kinds of data types. Now if we are having a tuple object which is containing tuple object inside it, so it is a two-dimensional tuple object, and if we are iterating through the tuple object, so if we are writing a for each loop, we will be iterating through the tuple object inside a tuple object. So for each loop will return a tuple object which is having 3 values. So 3 values can be unpacked using the for each loop. So instead of writing a single variable, if we are writing the variable number of variables which are equal to the number of elements inside the inner tuple object, it will unpack inside the for each loop. So as we can see, we are accessing the first, 2, second and the third variable. Okay, so if we execute it, as we can see, it will print the element values of a inner tuple object. So here is how we can unpack tuple object inside the for each loop. Next is reversed. So same as for the list, it will iterate over the elements of a given tuple object in a reverse order. So as we can see, it will beginning from the last up to the first object. Next is iterating using indexes. So same way, if we are iterating in a for loop from beginning from index 0 up to the length of the given tuple object, we can also access each element using indexes. Okay, so it will begin from 0, but if you want to print it beginning from 1, so we can here write it I plus 1, which will print the same sequence beginning from 1, but it will still be accessing from the index 0. Next is enumerate, which will return a 2 value or a tuple object containing 2 values. So here we are unpacking those value. The first value is an element. First value is a count, which is a number which by default begins from 0, and second value is a element of a iterator in an increasing manner. Okay, so if we execute it, as we can see, it is returning 2 variable at each iteration. First is a index beginning, first is a count variable which is beginning from 0 and incremented by 1 at each iteration, and second is a element which is progressing at each iteration by index. Okay, same way, if we are providing the value of start variable or start parameter, it will start counting from that value. So if we provide 1 here in enumerate, it will start from returning value or a returning count value from 1. Next is iterator tools dot chain method. So chain method will iterate through the elements of a multiple iterables. So chain method of a iterator tools module takes multiple iterator as a parameter, and it will iterate through each elements of a given iterables in sequence. So if here we are providing 2 iterable in terms of tuple object, so it will first iterate through the element of a flower tuple object, and then it will iterate through the more flowers tuple object. Okay, so as we can see, after ending iterator for the first iterator tuple object, it will start from the first element of a second iterable tuple object given as a parameter. Next method is zip. It takes multiple iterables, but it will iterate in parallel. So it is same as we have explained for the list object. So we will not go in details further. So it will return a tuple object containing elements of given index, or at each iteration it will return the combination of elements at the particular iteration. So at first, if we are providing 2 iterables in terms of tuple object, and so we are beginning from 0 index, so it will combine all the elements at the 0th index into a single tuple object, and it will return it. So here we have unpacked that tuple object because we are only iterating through 2 iterables, so it will return a tuple object containing 2 elements. So if we are further providing more iterables, so it will return a tuple object containing that amount of elements. So we know it's 2 elements, so we have written here 2 variable names which will extract. The first one is the flower and second one is a price. So okay, so if we iterate using zip, it will iterate the iteration parallelly for the given 2 iterables. Okay, as we can see here, it is returning, or it is iterating parallelly through both of the tuple objects. Okay, and if we are providing a different lengths of iterable, it will end when the shortest iterable is reached. So if we are only providing 3 flowers, it will not go for further prices, it will only print 3 values. Okay. Next is we can pass, so zip returns a generator function out of it. Okay, so same as we saw for the tuple constructor, we can pass a generator object or a iterator object to it. So what it will do, it will return a tuple object containing all the elements which that generator object is going to generate, or iterator object is going to return. So if we have 3 different iterator objects, which is in terms, this is a tuple object, and if we are providing inside a zip function, it will return a generator object or a generator function, and same generator function is passed as a constructor of a tuple object or constructor of a tuple class. Okay, so it should return a tuple object containing a tuple object which is having element iterated parallelly. So it will have a constructed inner tuple object containing combining the elements of a given indexed. Okay, so let's see the output. So as we can see here, it is combining the elements of a particular index as a inner tuple object. Okay, so same for the second object, it will take the indexed value, so it will take values at index 1 to construct the tuple object at a index 1 of a result tuple object. Okay, next topic is functions of a tuple object. So here we know that tuple is a immutable object, so we cannot change or alter the elements which is created at a constructor time. Okay, so these are the function which will return or give you the access to that particular object. Okay, so first function is index. It returns the index of a given element inside a tuple object. Okay, so if we search for the 11 inside this tuple object, it will return the particular index position of that object. So it should return 0, 1, 2 and 3. So it should return 3. So the given element is stored at the index 3. So if we have multiple elements or duplicate elements for the given element such as this, so 4 object integer object is here 3 times, so it will return index of a first occurrences. So it should return index 1. So as we can see here, it is returning an index of a first occurrence out of it. And if none of the element, if the given element is not existing in the tuple object, it will raise value error. So it will say that given value x is not in the given tuple object. Next method is count. It will count the number of occurrences of a given object. So if we are counting the number of occurrences for 4, it will return 3. If the given element does not exist inside the tuple object, it will return 0. Okay, as we can see here, 16 is not present, so it will return count as 0. Next is len. So len is a general method which will return the length of a given sequence. So number of elements inside the given tuple object is returned by the len function. Next is built-in function which we can invoke on a tuple object. So these are the first three are the function which are only invocable for the numeric values. Okay, so if we have the numeric value tuple object and we want to pull out minimum value out of it, you can write minimum, and inside you can pass an iterable, because the tuple object is a sequence same as the list, so both data type can use this method. So if we execute it, it returns the minimum value. Same way for max, it will return maximum value out of the sequence, and for sum it will return total of all of its element. Now next method is sorted. So it is also same as we saw for the list object. It will return elements in a sorted manner. Okay, so if we have same numeric list and if we print it in a sorted manner, so as we can see, it is returning sorted element, but the return container is list instead of tuple object. So we are passing here a tuple object, but instead of tuple object it is returning a list object which is containing same elements but in a sorted manner. Next method is any. So it will return true if any value is evaluated as a Boolean variable true. So as we know, any value, integer value, it is not 0, it is evaluated as a true. So it will return, because it is non-zero value here, it will return true for the T1 tuple object, and it will return false because none of the value is non-zero. Okay, so as you can see here, opposite of that, all will return true only if all the values are evaluated as a true. If one of the value is evaluated as false, such as here it is 0, it will return false. As you can see, because it is evaluated as a false, it will return false. Next is membership operator in. It will check that whether the given element is inside the given tuple object. So here we are constructing a tuple object containing value 1 to 10. So if we check 1 in T1, it will return true. For 15, it will return false because it is not inside our given tuple object. Same way, opposite of in is not in. So it will check whether the given element does not exist in the T1. So if it does not exist, it will return true. Otherwise, it will return false. Okay, so 1 exists inside the T1, it will return false. And 15 does not exist, so it will return true. Now, the tuple concatenation. So if we write, we have two tuple object T1, T2, and if we write T1 plus T2, it will construct a third object which is a tuple object which will having elements, combined element from T1 and T2. Okay, so if we print all of these tuple object, as we can see here, the third object is having different value, so it is a different object constructed and having elements combined from the given two tuple objects. Next operator is a star, which will multiply the elements given n number of times. So if we want to create a tuple object having single value or a single element, we can construct it using this. Okay, so we must write a comma, and after that we don't provide any element. So single element you cannot write like this. Okay, for with single element you must write it like this, so it will create a tuple object having a single value. Same for the list also. So if you multiply it by 10, it will return a tuple object which is having element 1 repeated 10 times. Okay, as we can see here, element 1 is repeated 10 times. Same way it is having, if it is having multiple elements, all of the elements will be repeated given number of times in a given order. Okay, as you can see, 1 2 3 is repeated 3 times. Now we will see the difference between mutable tuple object having mutable data types and immutable data type. So as we explained earlier, tuple object with immutable data type is hashable, so they can be used as a key of a dictionary. Okay, so if we are constructing the same tuple object twice, which is having only immutable data type, it will not create a second object when we are creating it as a second time. So if it is already exist, same as for the string variable, as we saw the slides for that. So whenever it will create a tuple object, first it will check inside the memory. If the given or the result object is already inside the memory, it will return the memory reference of an existing object, immutable object. Okay, so here as we can see, we are constructing a tuple object which is having only immutable data types. In this case we are having only integer, so first time it will create a tuple object, but whenever we are assigning or whenever we are constructing the same immutable object, again it will check in the memory and it will find that object and it will return a memory reference or memory address for the same immutable data type. Okay, so we will check here. First we will compare its value, because it is same, it should return true, and if we are correct, if it is returning the same object or memory address for the same object, this identity operator is also should be evaluated as a true. Okay, let's execute it. As we can see here, T1 is T2, and if we check the ID of both the tuple object, they are pointing to the same tuple object inside the memory. Okay, but what happens, it will change when we have a mutable data type. Okay, but before that we will take what happens if we are assigning to the tuple variable to a new variable. So it will be copying the memory address, same as we saw for the list, but because it is having, this object is having only immutable data type, it is same as constructing this. Okay, so if we are using assigning, it will also result in a same. Okay, because here we are only copying the memory address from variable T1. Now let's construct with mutable data type. So as you can see here, the tuple object is having two kinds of data types. So first two are immutable and third one is a mutable data type. Okay, so this object is not hashable. Okay, so if we invoke double equals to, which it means that we are comparing the value, it will return true because they are containing the same value. But if we check the identity operator is, because it is having a mutable data type, this constructor will return different memory address for this list constructor. So it will take it as a false. So the different tuple object will be constructed. So let's execute it. And as you can see here, first we will see ID. Even though it is containing identical or equals or equal values, as we can see here, both of them are having values equals, but it is having mutable data type. It is constructing a different tuple object. So always keep that in mind. Depending on the data type which is having tuple object inside, its ID differentiate. Okay, so only immutable data type are not constructed when they are constructed with the same value. Okay, now we can change the value of a mutable element. Okay, so if we are accessing T1 list and we are appending some value, it will affect only this list, it will not affect this list. Okay, so let's append it and see the both the tuple object. As we can see, it is only affecting list of this, because while constructing the second tuple object, it is not returning the memory address for the same object because it is having mutable data types. Next topic is tuple operators. So as we saw, double equals to will compare the value of a given to tuple object, and not equal to will negate the double equals to. As you can see here, T2 and T3 having same value, but T1 is having not the same value, because even if it is having single variable inside it, but it is a list object and here is a integer object, so it is not equal. And for not equal to, the values will be flipped. For identity operator is will return true only if both of the tuple object or both variable are pointing to the same tuple object inside the memory. As you can see here, T1 and T4 is having immutable data type, so they will point to the same object, but T2 and T3 will be pointing to the different object in memory because their constructor having mutable data types. So as we can see here, T1 and T2 are different, T2 and T3 are different, and T1 T4 are same. Now less than, greater than, less than or equal to, or greater than or equal to. So it will perform comparison from beginning index up to the length until it finds the difference. Okay, if it does not find the difference, they are equal. Okay. So this is a nested tuple object. So as we can see, it will also compare the values inside the inner tuple object. So at this position, it will find that T2 is having value greater than T1. Okay, so it will return true for the less than and less than or equal to. Next topic is named tuple, named tuple object. Okay, so it is the same as a tuple data type, but it contains named data instead of indexed data. It can also be accessed using index, but in addition to that index, it contains named data. So let's see the constructor of a named tuple object. So it takes 2 arguments are mandatory and all of the remaining are optional parameters. Okay, so what are those? So first one is a type name. So whatever the type name is given as a string, it will return a subclass of a tuple object for the same name. Okay, so what it returns, it does not return object, it returns a subclass of a tuple class which is going to used for the constructor of constructing the named tuple objects. Okay, so this is the name of the return class. And second parameter is a field name. It is a name of a fields, it is a named data, so name of a fields by index of the element, okay, which is given as a string separated by the comma or the iterables such as list or tuple object which are having multiple string objects. Okay, so from that it will return a subclass of a tuple which can be used to construct a named tuple objects. So let's see an example. So here we are constructing a person named tuple object which will having 3 elements and their names are name, phone number and blood group. Okay, so it will return a class. Okay, so we will check it is a subclass of a tuple object or not. Okay, and that class will be having named person. Okay, so for that named tuple we need to import the named tuple function from the collection module. Okay, so here we are providing 3 types of a field name as we have explained it. First we are providing a string which is separated by comma, second is a list of string, and third one is a tuple object having strings. Okay, so it will construct the same person class out of this parameter. Okay, so let's execute it, and as we can see here it is printing true because the return the person class is a subclass of a tuple class. Next parameter is rename. If it is given value as a true, it will rename the invalid field name given by the name underscore and a given index. Okay, so index begin from 0 we know. So if we are providing field name as this and we know that this is a invalid identifiers because it is beginning from a number, so it will replace underscore and the index value. So here it is index 1, so this will be replaced with the index, this will be replaced with the name underscore 1 and this will be underscore 2. Okay, so we will see an example here. As we can see here, the field name is given as a tuple object which is having invalid identifier. Okay, and if we are constructing object, so this is a class, it is written by it, so we will use this class to construct a object of a named tuple of a this class. Okay, so let's construct it and print it so we can know the named field value. Okay, so as we can see here 2a is replaced by underscore 1 and underscore 2 for the 3a. Next parameter is defaults. So we can also give default values for the fields. Okay, so whatever the sequence instead of none is provided, which will be taken as a default value if that particular value is not passed to the constructor of a object. Okay, so let's see an example. So here we are constructing a point class, okay, point tuple class, and we are providing defaults as a single value. Okay, we can also provide equals amount of default value, which will map the, if we are providing 3 values, it will match with the indexed value. So first will be first, second will be second, and third will be third, and so on. But if we are providing less number of value inside the default value, it will map from the length of a given default from the right hand side of the list. So the parameters from the beginning of a list will be required parameter by default, and remaining parameter which is matching from this will become a default value parameter for the constructor of that particular class. So here only we are providing single value. So this field color will become a default value, which will having value this if it is not given as a constructor. So we have constructed the class and we are creating here object. So in first object we are providing value of a default, so it will be replaced with the given value red. And second object we are not providing color value, so it will take the default value black. Okay, as we can see here it is having value black, but if we have not given any value in a constructor. Same way, if we have provided 2 values here, so these 2 parameter will be selected for the default value. Okay, so if we are not providing value this and we are constructing, as we can see the default value is applied to the second parameter y. Okay, and whatever the first parameter is given, it is taken that mandatory value. Next topic is, as the named tuple object is a named data, we can access it using the given field name. Okay, so we have constructed a person object out of a person class written by the named tuple constructor. If we print p1.name, which is the name of a field, it will return this name. Same way for the other elements. Okay, so let's execute it. As we can see here, we are able to access each element by their given name. Same way we can access the same value using indexes 2. So if we are writing index 0, so at index 0, as we know that it is this element, so it will return that element. Okay, and so on. Now next topic is tuple object of named tuple. So we can also create a collection of a named tuple object. So if we have multiple person object, which are an object of a named tuple person class, which are stored inside a tuple object, we can iterate over them, and for each named tuple object we are accessing the element of it using field name here. Okay, and we are printing the element value and we are accessing them using field name. Okay, so as we can see, we are able to print a data of all person which are stored inside the single tuple object. Next topic is attributes of named tuple object, or the class which is written by a named tuple constructor. So first we will construct a named tuple class which is a person. Okay, so if we invoke fields underscore fields on a given named tuple class, it will return the fields which are passed to the constructor. As we can see, this is the tuple object which we have passed as a constructor of a named tuple. Next is field defaults, which will return a dictionary containing field name as a key and its default value. Okay, so we will take example of same point object which is having default value for a color field, and if we invoke point class dot underscore field default, it should return a dictionary object containing color as a key and black as value. As we can see here, it is returning a dictionary object. Next is functions of a class or a named tuple class written by a constructor. So first is a make. It takes iterable as an argument and returns a named tuple object from a given iterable having elements. So if we are having a iterable which can be anything, a tuple or a list object which is having same amount of elements which are accepted by a constructor of a named tuple class. So it is taking 3 parameters which are mandatory, and as we can see here, we are having iterable or a sequence which are having 3 values. So we can pass it inside the make function. So person.make will construct named tuple object of a person class with the given value. So if we print name, it should print Victor, as you can see. So this way we can convert a tuple object to the named tuple object. Okay. Next function is as dictionary, which returns the dictionary constructed from the named tuple object. So named tuple object having named data. So as we can see, for the person object, it is having name as a Victor, phone number as this, and blood group as this. Okay. So if we want to extract it to the dictionary object, we can use this as dictionary method. So which will return a dictionary with field value. Okay. So field values are key, and for that particular object, as we can see, these are the values. Next method is replace, which takes variable numbers of keyword arguments. So it returns from so it is invoked on an existing named tuple object, which will return a new named tuple object of same class by replacing only given values as a keyword argument. So for point class, if we have a point variable p1, point object p1, and if you want to construct a second point object by just replacing x and y coordinate, and we want to retain its color, we can write p1 dot replace. So it will only replace the keyword argument given to it, and rest of the value of given object will remain same. So if we execute it, as you can see, color red remains the same even if it is mandatory, because we are replacing only x and y value. Okay, so this can be even faster than constructing a new tuple object out of given class. Okay, because we are only replacing only certain values. So for larger object, this could be very beneficial. Now next topic is sorting the named tuple. So we saw sort function for the list and tuple object, okay, but they are containing indexed data. They are only accessed using index, but the name tuple object can also be accessed using their field names. Okay, so how can we sort given named tuple objects using their named data or the field name? Okay, so here we have constructed 4 object of a person class, which is a named tuple class. Okay, so if we are iterating over it, we can access their values using their field names. Okay, so if we will write a sort function which will by default will sort from the it will compare the each element from the first element until it finds the different element. Okay, so for this example, as we know, the first element is a person name, so it will sort first by the person name, and if the both person is having same name, it will go to the second argument, which is age. Okay, so by default it will sort by a person name, so we are passing that sorted list which is having named tuple object to a function this, which is printing all the elements of a given list or a iterable. So if we execute, as we can see here, by comparing to the initial values, it is sorting it by the name. So first is Andy because it is beginning from alphabet A. Okay, so by default it has sorted by name, but we know that sorted function takes 2 other arguments, key and a reverse. So in key we can provide our custom defined function which takes the element at each position and returns a data or returns an element out of it from which it should be sorted, considering as a sorted. So here we will write a lambda function instead of writing a custom function as we saw for the list. So here we will write a lambda function which is accepting, here we are providing the argument. So this function should take only one argument, which is a named tuple object. Okay, and it is returning age out of the named tuple object. So this sort function will sort on only age value. So if we execute it, as we can see here, all the data is sorted only according to the value of age, because this key function will convert a named tuple element into only this age. Okay, same way we can use lambda for sorting the given collection based on income. Okay, and if in this we are providing second argument reverse as a true, so it will sort the given sequence in a descending order. So if we execute it and comparing with the original order, as we can see, the same sequence is sorted in a manner of income. So it will only compare the value of a income of a given named tuple. So that brings us to the end of the video.